I was working at as a graphic designer, and I came up with the brilliant idea of making my own app. That's where this whole programmer, software engineering shit comes from, right? My idea of building my own application to solve a problem that I had in the real world. So after I finished building my app, you guys don't care about that part. I already told you guys that part of the story. I'm not going to go back and rehash that. After I started building my app, right, I realized that you could get a job making a decent amount of money as a software engineer. So I had to put my two brain cells together and figure out what can I do to get in the door. And I'm not going to lie, chat, I made everything up. I made everything up. I made up a resume that had a bunch of bullshit on it. The resume said I was working as a software engineer for like 2 years at some company that didn't exist. And I used my brother as a reference just in case they decided to call the company, which most of the time, most companies are lazy and they don't do reference checks. So they didn't even call my brother to see if I really worked for this company. And I lied. He says, I knew your LinkedIn was bullshit. No, my LinkedIn is real. My LinkedIn is real, Rob. My LinkedIn is real. But my LinkedIn is real, but what I had before, so my updated LinkedIn is accurate. But the LinkedIn that I had before, like what it said before, was bullshit. I never the company that was before the last company, that company didn't even exist. I just made it up. And then I used my brother's information as a reference. And then I just told them I had a year of experience. The truth is, does it matter? That's what a lot of people don't realize, man. And also, I just butchered that story. I didn't go into detail. I didn't tell you guys how I felt, how much effort. Why do I suck at storytelling, guys? He says, Scott's not black. He's Dominican. He says, you ain't fooling nobody. A black software engineer. Okay, buddy. Yo, Eddie from Kick is going crazy with the insane racism. He says, even worse. Listen. First, let's rewind, guys. That story I just told you guys was trash. I feel bad, man. I feel like shit. I feel like just turning off my camera and just never coming back to the internet. Because why can't I tell a story with emotions and detail? I sat there. You know, I'm rewinding a little bit here so I can tell the story with more detail. I sat there and I devised a plan. How can I get in the doors of a company? What do I need to do? You guys already know that every single company wants you to have a year, 2 years, 3 years of experience. How do you get a job when you have zero experience, guys? Seriously. How are you supposed to do that? He says, go change your tampon and try again. Well, I'm rehashing the story right now, Rob. I'm adding more emotion to it because that was a list. I can't just be like, oh, I got a job, I lied. Done. End of story. So I'm rehashing it. I'm rehashing it right now. Me explaining to you guys that I'm rehashing it is ruining the story, though. Yo, I'm a work, guys. I literally have mental illness. Fuck me. I know I have mental illness because why am I struggling to tell a simple story? So, yeah, I lied. I lied because every company wants you to have 2 years of experience. How do you get a job if you have zero experience, guys? Somebody tell me. So I was sitting there thinking to myself, racking my brain, what can I do to get a job? Because I had already done 2 or 3 interviews with other companies, right? And with those interviews, I did good. Back in those days, guys, I was a top tier engineer. I knew how to code really well. I was good with my data structures and algorithms. I wasn't an expert, but I was okay. I was good at building apps from scratch because I had just been building. I built like 7 apps from scratch when I was looking for a job the first time. So I was good with everything. I knew all the syntax. I understood solid principles. I understood dry. I understood CRUD. I was the top G when it came to coding. And I had done like 3, 4 other interviews. And I'm sitting there after the interview sweating bullets and realizing that I wasn't going to get the job. They would ask me the final question, nail in the coffin. Have you ever worked as a software engineer anywhere else? And I would say, no, I haven't. And then they would come back a day later talking about, oh, we're looking for somebody with more experience. They hit me with, we're looking for somebody who has more experience like 3 or 4 times, maybe even more than that. So at some point I realized I'm gonna have to lie. For me to get ahead, for me to even get the opportunity to be offered a position, I'm gonna have to lie. And that's when it clicked. Let me get my brother. You know, my brother was in on it. Let me get my brother. Yo, bro, I'm going to use you as a reference, man. If anybody calls you, don't matter if it's midnight, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. Don't matter if it's a fucking weekend. If somebody calls you asking about a Scott Leonard, you better tell them I've been working for your company for 6 years. You better tell them I'm a fucking expert. It wasn't 6 years. It was a year and a half. But either way, you got to tell them that shit because that's the only way I'm going to get a job, brother. That's the only way I'm going to do it. So I wrote up my fucking resume. My resume had a bullshit company. It had a bullshit company on it, and it said that I was working as an engineer there for the past year, right? And the phone number and the reference was my brother. And my brother had a fake name, Roberto something, some bullshit name. And we were ready to go. We were ready to roll, bro. We were ready to roll. He says banking on Big Junior is wild. I know, Vin. Thank goodness they didn't call him. Can you imagine if they had called him? He would have fucked it up somehow. So then the company that I got hired at, first of all, after I started telling them that I had 1 to 2 years of experience, they were offering me jobs left and right. I had 3 offers. 3 fucking offers, chat. That shows you that this shit is not based on your merit, bro. The people that do the recruiting are gatekeepers. That's all they're there for, to gatekeep. They're there to gatekeep, chat. After I started telling them that I had 1.5, 2 years of experience, the same interviews, you know, the same feeling, the same vibe, the same outcome type of interviews were resulting in job offers. I had one job offer me $80,000. I had another job offer me $100,000. And then I had another job, the one I got hired at, offered me $160,000. And then I worked my way up to $200,000. Guys, that's all it took. All it took was for me to make up a story and say, yo, I've been working as a software engineer for 2 years, guys. I got experience. So much so that when I got hired at that last company, the one that was paying the $200,000, when I got hired getting paid $160,000, software engineer 2, rank 2. And I had 0 experience. It just shows you that it doesn't matter how much experience you have, bro. Because I had 0 experience, and when I got hired, they hired 2 other dudes, right? They hired a guy named Patrick, and they hired a guy named, what was his name? Tony. And those guys were college students. And do you know what they hired them as? They hired Patrick as a intern. He got hired as an intern, and they hired Tony as a level 1, right? Meanwhile, they hired me as a level 2. So right off the bat, from the get-go, I was making more money than those guys with no experience. Was Patrick fat? No, Patrick was like a fucking hippie. He was a hippie. That nigga, he was there until we left. They let him go when they let me go. So he was there for the full 6 years. He got hired literally like the next day after I got hired. And that guy, when you know what he told me a few days ago when I was talking to him after we got laid off? He told me that he was only making $100K. So in the 5 years that we were there, he said that when he got hired as an intern, right? Making like $60K. He worked his way up from $60K to $100K in 5 years. And I couldn't believe that he was making that little bit of money. I was like, yo, you were making that little bit of money? That's crazy. But it's because he got hired as an intern. If I had not lied, Vin, Rob, Daffy, if I had not lied and said I had experience, I probably still would have got hired at the company because I guess they were desperate for engineers. But they would have hired me as an intern, or they would have hired me as a level 1, and I would have never made the amount of money I made when they let me go. As a janitor. They would have hired me as a level 0, bro. He says, yeah, you're screwed now. What do you mean, Rob? Now I do have the experience, though. Now I do have the experience, bro. Now I'm not lying. Now I'm not lying anymore. Now I actually do have the experience. He says, buy some Epstein coin and gamble on stake. He says, I would have been the guy who gets the donuts. I mean, realistically, Daffy, I had 0 experience, bro. Also, it also tells you how much of a workaholic, how professional I am, that I got hired and I still worked my way up to being the senior engineer at that company. And the other guys that got hired with me never leveled up. Rob says, I seen your coding skills. It's level 1. Oh my God, Rob. Rob, it's not level 1, dude. It's not level 1.